Let's take a look at how we can select tag names within our HTML page very easily with jQuery. So first off, I have a really simple page, and this is loaded inside of Visual Studio. Now I want to emphasize that jQuery works with just plain HTML, PHP, Ruby on Rails, ASP.NET Web Forms, MVC, whatever you may want to use. So although this is my tool of choice for now, which is Visual Studio, you could certainly do this in Notepad. You could use Aptana, and there's all kinds of different editors. Eclipse would work great. So nothing specific to Microsoft or any of the Microsoft technologies, but I will say that things like ASP.NET MVC play very nicely with jQuery out of the box. So I have an ASP.NET MVC application in front of us here, and you'll notice in my scripts folder I have the jQuery script. I also have the VS Doc script, so I get some IntelliSense, and that was covered a little bit in Module 1. So what I'm going to do is come in, and we're going to do a real simple selector. So I've already loaded the script, and I have the document ready function all wired up and ready to go. So when the DOM is loaded, we're able to go in and get the tags that we want out of it. So all we're going to do is, like I showed earlier in the slides, we can come in and simply say, I would like to find all the, for instance, P tags, or let's find that image tag. And that's going to return a collection of images, actually, because there might be more than one of those. So let's go ahead and, just to keep it simple, we'll do an alert on that collection. We'll say, what is the length of it? So let's go ahead and run that now. And when it runs, we'll hopefully see that we, at this stage, have one image that pops up. And you can see that works appropriately. All right, let's go in, and there's also some div tags. So let's change this to divs. We'll change this guy to divs, and then we'll find all the div tags. All right, now I happen to have 3 that are actually in the document. So I have a div there, and then there's 2 more divs right here. There's one that'll be injected dynamically at runtime as well. So we should see about 4 of them that appear once we run this, and you'll see we do get back 4 divs. All right, now at this stage, what do you do once you've selected a tag? Well, in a separate module, I'm going to cover some cool things you can do, but let me show you a few of those as we get going here. So one of the things we could do is we could actually go, and for each div, we might want to go in and change, for instance, the style. Now this is a class, but we could also go in and directly influence CSS styles. So if you've been doing this the custom way with JavaScript and just out-of-the-box type JavaScript, you'd probably assume we'd come into the style and we'd go from there, but that's not how it works in jQuery. In fact, you won't actually see style show up in the IntelliSense here. This is a jQuery object that's being returned. So it's actually a DOM object, which represents all the divs, wrapped inside of a jQuery object. Now how do we know that? Well, because this is the jQuery object, this is a call out to the jQuery function, and that returns us a jQuery, in this case, collection. So what we could do is we want to change, for instance, the background color of all the divs. You'll notice currently I have blue and red, and that's about it. This top one has nothing. Well, we could go in and say find all the divs, and you'd probably think, well, then you got to loop through them, right, to apply the styles. Well, in jQuery, that's one of the nice features. You don't have to. We could come in and say, I'd like to change the CSS, and you'll notice I get some really nice IntelliSense here, and I want to change the property called background color, and I'd like to change it to, let's just say, green to make it really obvious. That's all I'd have to do. If we find 4 divs, 3 divs, whatever it is, it's going to automatically iterate through those, go in, and apply this style onto each of those divs. Now it's actually going to influence the style attribute that you would normally type down in the HTML. So when it gets done, it's like we did this. It would be something like that, but it'd be up in memory because we're doing it with the DOM. All right, so that'd be the basic syntax. You'll notice how simple that is. No looping, very compact, very easy to use. So let's go ahead and run that, and we'll see what we have here. Now it doesn't look phenomenal, but you'll see that was one div. Here was our second div, and then here was our third div. And you'll see it changed those to green, and you can see how easy it was to not only find the divs, but to also do some work on those divs. And we'll have a lot more I'll be covering in later modules about how to work with these the data once you get it. Now, one more I want to show you real quick though is what if we wanted to see the HTML inside of the divs, or maybe we want to change the HTML inside of the divs. Well, again, normally what most people would do is they'd come in and make the collection, and then they do something like a for loop, or they do the for, and we can do the loop, start at 0 and loop through each div. Well, much easier to do in jQuery. So I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch. So we'll do our selector. Now I'm going to say for each item that's returned, call a function and do something in the function. And I'm going to keep it real simple since we're not really dealing a lot right now with these functions. Just want to show you a couple of them. And I'm going to do an alert on the div's HTML so that we can see the HTML inside of that div. Now, as it loops through each item, it's going to pass you that item. And the way we can get to it is you do a jQuery wrapper around this. Now, this represents the item you're looping through. So we would say this dot HTML to do it the jQuery way. Now, if you've ever done the inner HTML before using traditional raw JavaScript, then that type of stuff can be done. But in this case, we'd actually have to go this way. So if I run this, what will happen is, as we iterate through each div, it's now going to pop up. So this represents the table in the upper left. Here's the blue div, that's the contents. Here's the red div, you can see. And then there's a hidden one that's inside of here that is written out for us. And there we go. So there's many things we can do once you do the selector on a tag. You could apply styles, you could change class names, you can iterate through each one, you can toggle them, and there's a lot more we're going to cover in the upcoming modules. But that's one of the first things I wanted to show you. So this particular syntax with the selector works with anything you want. You can find p tags, you can do all that kind of stuff, but we can also do more, as I mentioned earlier. If we want to find, I don't have any anchors, but let's say we want to find the div and the span tags. And let's see how many. We had 4 divs we know, and we should have, I believe, 2 spans in here. So we'll probably get around 6 total items back if we do it this way. So let's do an alert on the collection. And so we'll say collection.length. And we'll get, it should be in the ballpark of about 6. We'll see what we get. There might be one I missed, but yeah, there we go. So we get 6. So we get the 3 divs here, plus the kind of hidden one, plus inside of each of these 2 colored divs, we have a span tag. And that's how we can get those. So you can see it's very easy to select all kinds of tags. Now what's cool about this, the same exact technique that I showed you earlier, if we wanted to say change the CSS of some property, we could say prop name value, and that would now not only change the prop name on just the divs, but it would also iterate through all those span tags. So very compact, very easy to work with. So that's an example of using tag selectors or element selectors, whatever you'd like to call them, to select specific tags in the DOM that your web page has.